Hello friends, Joy Martin here, gifted teacher 3rd, 4th, and 5th at McAdory Elementary School. The initiative I chose to research through and study through the lens of implementation science was the Alabama Reading Initiative. I chose that one because I can remember years ago, it's probably been about 10 years ago, when I was a 3rd and 4th grade classroom teacher, we were trained with ongoing professional development in ARI. We also learned how to analyze data and use that to drive instruction. And it is an initiative that I can remember in my classroom from personal experience led to student gains in reading achievement and was successful. So ARI, or the Alabama Reading Initiative, has been around for a long time, and there's a lot of research regarding its implementation. The current reading professional development is now called LETRS, but a lot of these things from LETRS stem from the original ARI. Okay, so we're going to look at the objectives, and there were many positive outcomes were recorded from research of the ARI initiative. Some of the positive outcomes was that many studies report improvement in overall student reading scores, and literacy rates in schools participating in ARI increased substantially. Teacher knowledge and instructional practices aligned with evidence-based reading methods increased. ARI also provided a comprehensive framework with ongoing professional development that was key. Another key to its success was coaching was provided in many of the schools, and there was also ongoing progress monitoring where teachers would meet in meetings, weekly meetings or monthly meetings, to analyze the data together. So those were 3 of the main key factors in this successful implementation. ARI was also linked to strong leadership. In the schools where you had strong leadership, you had the most gains. Schools with high fidelity to ARI protocols tended to show better student literacy outcomes. So the teachers who followed the ARI protocol with fidelity consistently showed better gains. There was also variability in implementation quality across districts and schools, and that was found to sometimes affect the overall effectiveness. For example, sometimes there might be a disparity in resources or resource allocation that could lead to not as successful of implementation. Other districts or schools sometimes would have high teacher turnover. That posed a challenge to implementation because every year you would have new teachers coming in, so you would have to start that professional development all over from the beginning. Okay, there were 3 steps that were noted for positive AR implementation, which led to its success. First of all, professional development. Teachers were provided ample time to attend professional development. There were effective strategies and skills that teachers learned, research-based skills in delivering high-quality reading instruction. Step 2, strategic resource allocation was extremely important. The resources provided money for the subs during the professional development. All the research-based reading materials that were provided, that took resources as well. And step 3, the continuous model of implementation and assessment allowed teachers to learn how to use data to drive instruction. And teachers also realized that data-driven instruction should be ongoing, to where the data is looked at a weekly and a monthly basis, as well as a yearly basis, to make adjustments as needed. So it became more diagnostic. Key benefits of the ARI initiative in terms of the students. Students demonstrated significant improvement in phonemic awareness, leading to better reading skills and overall literacy development. The program fosters increased reading fluency, so the fluency scores went up over time, allowing students to read more smoothly and comprehend text more effectively. Once your fluency goes up, then your comprehension scores will start going up as well. It was also found that research shows that students exhibit higher comprehension levels, enabling them to understand and analyze complex text graders. So teachers were learning and professionally trained how to model good reading, how to model think alouds, so that metacognition factor was being taught to students. So students would know how good readers, what good readers think, what they're thinking as they're reading. Research found that 15% of students statewide had some kind of significant reading gain in proficiency, and 25% enhanced efficacy. Teachers reported greater confidence in their instructional strategies. The research consensus. Overall, implementation science research supports that ARI has been a largely successful intervention in improving early literacy across Alabama when implemented with fidelity. So the implementation with fidelity was a major factor. It also exemplifies how sustained ongoing professional development and structured research-based reading programs can positively impact student outcomes. Continuous monitoring and adaptation remain essential for maintaining the success. I remember during the days of ARI implementation, we would have walkthroughs, sometimes on a weekly basis, sometimes on a monthly basis, and the teachers and or administrators who would be doing the walkthrough would have a checklist of things that they were looking for, and those things that they were looking for were based on the ARI research-based instructional strategies. So being held accountable is really important as far as implementation goes. The ARI, Alabama Reading Initiative, has made significant strides in improving literacy rates. Research indicates that schools implementing this initiative have seen a marked increase in student reading proficiency. By focusing on evidence-based strategies, educators have successfully created a supported learning environment. It's also a collaborative approach where the teachers work together with the coaches. The coaches would sometimes come into the classroom and model the reading instructional strategies for the teachers, and then the teachers would have practice and would be coached as they continue to learn these different strategies to use with their students. So it also built the culture of continuous improvement, ensuring that all students had access to high quality reading instruction. The ARI showed significant improvement in reading scores. These are some of what the research found. There was a National Reading Panel, or NRP, influence. Many of the ARI-based strategies were originated from the National Reading Panel, which is an evidence-based recommendations for the instruction of reading, specifically through phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The University of Alabama over the years has done formative evaluations of ARI. This happened in the early 2000s, where they found that ARI significantly increased teachers' knowledge and use of scientifically based reading instruction. And also schools that had consistent coaching tended to show the most improvement. Also, teaching with fidelity, these research-based strategies, was super important to students gaining in reading. There were challenges highlighted in the implementation. This study was done in the late 200s to 2010s, and that's where, as I talked about earlier, schools where you had high staff turnover or where you did not have correct or enough resource allocation, those tended to be the two biggest strategies to implementation success. Longitudinal studies, because this is an older initiative, it's given the state time to do longitudinal studies. And these studies have found that sustained improvements in early literacy rates among many districts. AR contributed to a narrowing of the achievement gaps, although some of the gaps in reading still continued to occur in schools of high poverty or where there might be language barriers. So we're still trying to figure out ways to best meet the needs of those schools. And LETRS, like I said, is another reading initiative that's currently being offered to many teachers across the state of Alabama. ARI has strong grounding in implementation science research. These are the main things: training, teacher training, coaching, data use, ongoing data to drive instruction, and leadership engagement. And then here's a list of the resources and references that I used for the research for ARI. So I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation. I am thankful to have more knowledge of implementation science and what it means to make sure that an initiative is implemented with those driving factors which lead to success, such as ongoing data analysis, coaching, strong leadership, equitable resource allocation, and most importantly, teaching with fidelity, following that implementation protocol. Thank you so much for listening, and roll Tide.